Every year, thousands of people go missing. Most are eventually found, alive, lost, or tragically deceased. But then there are those cases that leave behind no trail, no answers, just questions. Entire colonies, seasoned sailors, trained aviators, even children tucked safely into bed, gone. What connects these stories isn't a common era, location, or cause, but rather the chilling silence that follows. No ransom note, no mayday call, no remains. Just a cryptic word carved into wood, an abandoned meal on a well-kept table, a house fire without bodies. This video isn't about fantasy or folklore. These are real cases, documented disappearances, sometimes with clues, but never with closure. And in each, the line between logical explanation and the unknown begins to blur. Tonight, we're going to explore 5 of the most enduring disappearances in recorded history, tales that continue to haunt families, confound investigators, and capture the imagination of anyone who's ever asked, how can an entire group simply vanish into thin air? Let's begin. When 115 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island in 1587, they were meant to plant the seeds of England's first permanent foothold in the New World. But 3 years later, when their governor, John White, returned from a supply trip to England, not a single soul remained. No signs of a struggle, no bodies, no fire, just a dismantled settlement and one haunting clue carved into a wooden post, Croatoan. White had left his family among the colonists, including his infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. His return was delayed by the Anglo-Spanish War, and when he finally came back in 1590, Roanoke was a ghost town. So what happened? Theories abound. Some historians believe the colonists may have peacefully assimilated with the nearby Croatan tribe, supported by later accounts of Native Americans with European features and traditions. Others suspect they tried to sail back to England and were lost at sea or were killed by hostile tribes or Spanish forces from Florida. In recent decades, archaeologists have uncovered tantalizing clues. European artifacts found inland and on nearby Hatteras Island suggest some of the colonists may have survived and merged with indigenous communities. But there's no definitive proof. The original site remains silent. The mystery of Roanoke is more than 400 years old, yet it still endures as a symbol of vanishing without a trace. One word, Croatoan, etched in wood, has echoed through centuries as one of the most chilling riddles in early American history. On December 5, 1872, a British ship called the Dei Gratia spotted a fellow merchant vessel drifting silently through the North Atlantic near the Azores. It was the Mary Celeste. Its sails were set. The hull was intact, cargo undisturbed, but when the crew boarded, they found no one aboard. The captain, Benjamin Briggs, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and all 7 crew members had vanished, leaving behind warm meals, untouched belongings, and an eerie silence. The lifeboat was missing. The ship's hold had about a meter of water, not unusual for the time. And most critically, there was no sign of a struggle. The cargo of 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol was mostly intact, though 9 barrels were oddly empty. Charts and navigational instruments were in place, but the question remained, why would a skilled crew abandon a perfectly seaworthy ship in the middle of the ocean? Over the years, many theories surfaced. One scientific hypothesis suggests that fumes from the alcohol cargo may have caused a fear of explosion. Though there was no fire damage, a powerful gas pressure burst could have scared the crew into launching the lifeboat, only to be lost at sea. Others propose a rogue wave or water spout, or perhaps food poisoning from moldy bread triggering hallucinations. Then there are the wilder ideas: sea monsters, mutiny, alien abduction. None supported by evidence, but the silence around this case invites speculation. The Mary Celeste was towed to port and resold, but the mystery followed her until she was eventually wrecked in 1885 under suspicious circumstances. Even today, she's considered one of the greatest maritime enigmas. A ghost ship that drifted calmly across the sea, its human story erased without a trace. It was supposed to be a routine red-eye flight. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur bound for Beijing with 239 souls on board. A modern Boeing 777 experienced crew, clear weather. But just 38 minutes after takeoff, the plane disappeared from civilian radar and was never seen again. Initial confusion turned into global shock. Radar data later revealed the plane had veered sharply off course, looping westward over the Malay Peninsula and out into the Indian Ocean. No distress signal, no transponder communication, just gone. A multinational search effort, the largest and most expensive in aviation history, spanned millions of square kilometers of ocean. But the aircraft's main wreckage was never found. Only scattered pieces, like a flaperon discovered on Roanoke Island, confirmed that MH370 had indeed crashed. The rest of the aircraft, including the flight recorders, remains unrecovered. What happened in those final hours? No one knows for sure. Some experts believe it was a deliberate act, possibly by the pilot, Captain Zahari Shah. Flight simulator data from his home showed a similar route into the Southern Ocean. Was it a murder-suicide? No clear motive or note was found. Others suggest catastrophic failure, rapid decompression, crew incapacitation, a zombie flight until fuel exhaustion. More fringe ideas cite hijacking, cyber sabotage, or even military shoot-down theories. The lack of black box data means none of these can be proven or ruled out entirely. But the most haunting part, in an age of GPS, satellites, and global connectivity, a massive jetliner can still vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions, grief, and a hole in aviation history. MH370 isn't just a tragedy. It's a stark reminder that even now, in the 21st century, some disappearances remain as complete as any lost colony or ghost ship. The year was 1900. The location? A lonely, wind-lashed group of rocks off the coast of Scotland, known as the Flannan Isles. On one of them stood a lighthouse, manned by 3 keepers: Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur. On December 26th, a relief vessel, the Hesperus, arrived with supplies and a replacement keeper. But something was wrong. The lighthouse was silent, no flag raised, no welcoming wave. When the crew landed, they discovered a scene that would become one of the sea's most chilling mysteries. The clock inside had stopped. A meal sat uneaten on the table. One chair was overturned, but the lighthouse was empty, eerily, entirely empty. According to logbook entries, the men had recorded a violent storm that battered the island. Yet on the mainland, no such storm was recorded. The final entry read simply, "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all." The official investigation concluded that a rogue wave likely swept the men out to sea as they tried to secure equipment. Supporting this theory, 2 of the men's oilskins were missing, suggesting they'd gone outside while one set remained, implying the 3rd man might have rushed out after them. But this explanation left many unsatisfied. How could three experienced men be caught off guard? Why no screams? No evidence? And why such ominous log entries if the weather was calm? Theories bloomed. Madness, murder, suicide, supernatural interference. Some claimed the island was cursed. The poet Wilfred Gibson captured the chilling essence in his verse, Flannan Isles, immortalizing the event in haunting lines. To this day, no trace of the keepers has ever been found, just an empty lighthouse, a stopped clock, and a storm, real or imagined, that swallowed 3 men whole. On Christmas Eve, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia, the Sodder family home went up in flames. George and Jenny Sodder managed to escape with 4 of their 10 children, but 5, Morris, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, were never seen again. What happened next turned this family tragedy into one of America's most haunting disappearance cases. After the fire was extinguished, no remains were found. No bones, no ashes consistent with human remains. Fire experts later said a house fire, even one that burned hot, rarely destroys bones completely. Something wasn't right, but the oddities began even before the fire. Earlier that night, the house phone had been rung by a strange caller, asking for someone who didn't live there, then laughing before hanging up. George's ladder, which he always kept propped against the house, had vanished. Later, it was found tossed down an embankment. One of George's trucks refused to start, preventing him from driving to get help. Witnesses claimed to see a strange object tossed onto the roof shortly before the blaze. Some said they heard something hit the house. In the weeks and months after, the Sodders received possible sightings, children matching the missing kids' descriptions spotted at rest stops, in a car with strangers, at a convent. Jenny even wrote to the FBI and President Truman for help. Convinced their children had been kidnapped in a planned arson, the Sodders mounted a decades-long investigation. They posted a giant billboard on Route 16 with the children's photos and a reward, keeping the mystery alive in the public eye for over 40 years. In 1967, the family received an eerie photo postmarked from Kentucky. It showed a man in his 20s who looked strikingly like Louis Sodder. The note on the back read cryptically, "Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie. Illil boys, A9013 or 35. The photo was never authenticated. The case remains unsolved. Did the Sodder children die in the fire, their remains somehow obliterated? Or were they stolen away, their fate hidden by layers of secrets? No official explanation ever satisfied the family or the public. It was a disappearance that crossed the line between house fire and possible conspiracy, and it left behind not just ashes but questions that still burn. Not every mystery makes the top 5, but these cases deserve a spotlight. Enigmatic, chilling, and forever unfinished. D.B. Cooper, 1971, one of the most legendary disappearances in aviation history. A man calling himself Dan Cooper hijacked Northwest Orient Flight 305, extorted $200,000 in ransom, and parachuted into the night sky over Washington state, never to be seen again. Despite extensive manhunts, no definitive trace of Cooper was ever found, just a few bundles of cash buried near a riverbank. Did he die in the fall or escape and disappear forever? The FBI closed the case in 2016 without answers. The Beaumont Children, 1966. 3 siblings, Jane, 9, Arna, 7, and Grant, 4, vanished from Glenelg Beach near Adelaide, Australia. Despite thousands of tips and a decades-long investigation, no trace of them has ever surfaced. The case horrified the nation and changed Australian parenting forever. Sightings, confessions, and suspects have come and gone, but none proved conclusive. The beach became a symbol, not of leisure, but of loss. The City of San Juan. 1976. A passenger ship carrying 75 people departed from Manila to Cebu, Philippines, and simply never arrived. No debris, no distress call, no wreckage found. Some speculate piracy, weather anomalies, or mechanical failure. Others whisper of conspiracies. But unlike plane crashes or train derailments, when a ship vanishes without a trace, it leaves behind an abyss of unanswered questions. Ambrose Bierce, 1913. The celebrated American writer and cynic traveled to Mexico in his 70s during the chaos of the Mexican Revolution. In a letter dated December 26, 1913, he wrote, "As to me, I leave here tomorrow for an unknown destination." He was never heard from again. Did he die in battle? Was he executed by Pancho Villa's forces? Or did he orchestrate his own vanishing act? His disappearance is as poetic and cryptic as his prose. Frederick Valentich, 1978. A young Australian pilot vanished mid-flight over Bass Strait after reporting a strange metallic aircraft hovering above him. His final radio transmission: "It's not an aircraft. It's hovering, and it's not an aircraft." Only an oil slick and minor debris were ever found. UFO enthusiasts latched onto the case. Authorities leaned towards spatial disorientation, but the mystery remains in the sky. Each of these cases echoes a different kind of silence, a sudden break in normalcy, an open door with no return, a name that fades without closure. These are not just footnotes, they are monuments to the unknown. Some mysteries endure not because they resist solution, but because they demand something deeper from us: closure, meaning, justice. Each disappearance in this list, and in countless others like it, left behind more than just a trail of evidence or an unsolved headline. They left a hole in families, in communities, in history itself. The lost colony of Roanoke, the Flannan Isles keepers, the vanished children of a Christmas fire, all stories where time froze in mid-sentence. And in an age of satellites, global positioning, and digital breadcrumbs, cases like Flight MH370 challenge our illusion of control. That even today, in our interconnected world, someone or something can still just be gone. Of course, theories abound, some grounded in logic: pilot error, rogue waves, assimilation with local tribes. Others drift into the fringe: alien abduction, government conspiracies, time warps. But the truth is, we often don't know. And that not knowing is what lingers. It's what makes these stories feel alive, even decades or centuries later. So we leave you with a question: not just what happened, but which mystery haunts you the most? Which absence feels most present? And more importantly, if closure never comes, what stories will we tell to live with the silence? Let us know in the comments. And if you're drawn to the unsolved, the eerie, and the forgotten, subscribe, because some shadows never stop moving.